Hey folks, Run Ranger here. This is the third of the how-to videos for the Run Ranger app on Windows Phone. In the first video, we covered just using the basic pace calculator to put in recent best efforts, do some calculations. In the second video, we looked at how the pace calculator can be used to help you fine-tune your training. And now we're going to look at how the pace calculator and some of the other pages can help you fine-tune your race day or normalize a time. So we looked at this, as you can see here. Run Ranger remembers the last values you put in. I'm talking about 3-hour marathons these days at 6:52 pace. The predict panel we already went through, and that shows you what your likely finishing times are in other distances. The prepare panel, where you get your training paces for various types of workouts. Now we'll move on to the perform panel, which is the one, it's kind of my favorite panel, not only because it's the latest one, but because I do a lot of trail running. I run some races at altitude, some hilly stuff, and when I go to a new race, it's always really tough to figure out what my effort should be, because if it's a lot hotter that day, I have no idea usually what that effect should be. So what I did is I did a ton of research on how temperature affects various runners. I looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of race results. I looked at my own training logs. I crunched a lot of numbers. I looked at altitude and climbing rates, and I figured out a way that I think pretty accurately can tell you how much that hot day or that hilly course is going to slow you down from a more perfect racing conditions. So if I've got a 3-hour marathon here, the presumption is that that's on a fairly flat course on a fairly cool day. Not a lot of wind, not a lot of hills, probably not at altitude, on a smooth road. I think those are all pretty good assumptions. But say I'm in 3-hour marathon shape, but I'm going to head to a trail marathon this weekend. Well, let's pick a running surface. It's going to be a medium trail. It's not too technical, but it's got some twists, some roots, rocks, and gravel. Seems about right. I also know that, geez, the forecast for that morning, it's going to be about 65 degrees most of that morning. How much is that going to slow me down? We're going to find out. And total climb, well, I know that there's about 1,200 feet, and since we start and stop in the same place, we're going to have 1,200 feet of descent as well. And altitude, well, we can put the altitude in. I know that we're going to be at about 2,000 feet. And let's see how that ends up. It takes my 3-hour marathon, original, to an adjusted 3:15, and the pace goes from 6:52 to 7:27. Now, this I've actually found to be pretty accurate. When I was at the Miami Marathon recently, it was a flat course, obviously. It wasn't too windy, but it was fairly hot. When I put in the temperature, I actually predicted a time that was 1 second different from the time that I finished in, which was pretty amazing. Also a little bit of luck in there. So this is how you can adjust for less than ideal racing conditions. I also recently added an option that you can use to this same page to normalize a time back towards a good potential time from a funky course. So if you just click here, tap the adjust for, you get to normalize from. Adjust for, normalize from. All right, let's say that I was on that course and I ran it in 3:25, the calculation button. I ran 750 miles pretty much there, 749s. Go back here, and I'm normalizing it from that 749 at the temperature of 65 degrees, 1,200 feet of climb, 1,200 feet of descent at 2,000 feet of altitude, and it's telling me, hey, you know what? On a flat course, cooler day, you probably would have run 7:12s for a 3:08.26. Anyway, I find this a very useful tool for getting my bearings when I'm heading to a race that's going to be in conditions that are a little bit less than ideal or less than normal. And before I finish up here, I want to show you the final piece of information that I put into Run Ranger, which is a lot of my friends, unfortunates who have iPhones or Android phones and who don't have access to an app like this. They have been asking me, hey, what does your app say that I'll run for this race or that race? Or how quickly should I be doing my training runs? And so instead of sending them screenshots, I added a share button down here via email. So if you click that button, you will send them Well, not when you're running, not when you're running the emulator. But if you're running it on your real phone and there's a real email address here, instead of getting this funky error message, it will boot up your mail program, and down there in the message body, it will give you the predicted times. It will give you the training times. You can hit throw in an email address, send it, and it'll send it to your friends. So anyway, sorry to show you an error message, but since this is an emulator and it doesn't have a mail account signed up for it, and it can't, that's what we get for now. So we'll close, we'll head back, and on that unfortunate note, we'll close out the video. Thanks a lot.